there is no such thing as a Venezuelan passport bro, and today we're going to discuss why.
Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com.
Today we're going to discuss why there is not such a thing as a Venezuelan passport bro. Well, first let's discuss what a passport bro is. It's this movement that we are having recently. Well, it has existed the whole life, but right now it's a thing. Regarding usually Western men, not necessarily have to be Western men, but there are men that are disgruntled and not satisfied with their local market, local dating markets on their home country, on their hometown, mostly the United States, that they have probably the worst dating markets on the world, places like Miami, New York, Los Angeles, places of that nature. What happened is that on those particular markets, the dating is successful only by top tier men. I'm talking celebrities, very rich individuals, especially in places like Miami that people are kind of a show off over there. They like to drive rented Lamborghinis, places, so things like that. So they go to other places, more friendly dating markets, usually in Latin America, Eastern Europe, and Southeast Asia. And of course, these markets, women are more pretty, more feminine. Also, they treat better the men over there. And there are the women over there as dating partners are more attractive than in Western nations, especially the United States. What happens is that also these men that, let's say, they are disgruntled with their local markets, but let's say somehow successful on their particular endeavors, they actually go to another place and compared to their hometown where they are not valuable commodities regarding dating, they are very valuable they're very valuable on other markets. Here again, Latin America, Eastern Europe, Southeast Asia. So they are more prone to start dating with eligible bachelorettes on those countries and maybe start dating, having a sentimental relationship, and even getting married. And this trend is not only for US and Canadian gentlemen, also some Western European gentlemen. Also, I met people from Turkey, so what about it right now, Israel, Middle East, the rest of the Middle East, of course, other countries in Latin America, like Mexican men. Also, there are some Mexican passport bros. They play this geo arbitrage, or as it's called informally, geo-maxing. They go to other country, start dating, they have better prospects over there, and start dating abroad. Even you see the cases in Latin American passport bros that start dating women from Eastern Europe because in Eastern Europe, especially in places like Russia, for instance, Latin American men are very attractive. However, I'm going to answer why there is not such thing as a passport bro. And the answer is they are not yet, and I haven't seen one. However, it's something that we might see in the future. And actually, there is the market situation for doing so. Throughout my life, I met, of course, a bunch of Venezuelans, of course, my fellow Venezuelans, not only, of course, here in my country, but actually abroad, in the United States, Western Europe, and so on. What happens regarding Venezuelan men dating abroad? The cases, and not because this particular Venezuelan men went to their country just for dating. They went for another reason, start dating within the local market. Well, the cases that I've seen, for instance, the United States, the country that have most case studies in this particular regard, is that men over there, since the United States has a terrible dating market, and if you are a migrant or an expat on this particular market, your chances are way lower, even compared to the chances of the local citizen over there. So every time that I've met a couple of a Venezuelan men and a United States female, usually it's let's say no attractive at all female, usually a man that is actually, let's say, decently good looking, is dating a woman that is overweight or very, let's say, not pretty at all, and the things I've seen, of course, I've seen awful things on that particular regard, and of course I cannot issue an opinion over on those particular issues. But it's, and when I talk to third people, other Venezuelans, yes, I've seen that. Every time I see a Venezuelan man with an American female, it's usually, according to their words, ugly, unattractive, overweight, and so on and so on. I have never met a Venezuelan man dating a beautiful American citizen, unless they are from a third country and they naturalize within the United States, something like that. But a born and raised true American girl, I've never seen a Venezuelan man with a beautiful, truly American female. With Europe, happens something different. Thanks to the migration that we had, around 7 million people of Venezuelans abroad, so a significant cohort of Venezuelans migrated to Western Europe, mostly Spain, around 400,000 Venezuelans over there, and a couple of pockets. We have a bunch of Venezuelans in Italy, less in France, Germany. Well, can put the UK for this particular example, around 20,000 Venezuelans on the UK, something of that nature. And of course, the rest of the countries of the EU, but the most important ones. It's not like you're going to see a Venezuelan in Slovakia, something like that. But also, maybe I saw a couple in Croatia, by the way. Well, the thing happens, the legacy grand countries in the European Union, Spain, Italy, Portugal, a bunch of Portugal as well, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Germany, the Netherlands, on a lesser degree, and a few now on Poland, places like that. Well, what I'm seeing right now is actually Venezuelan men are quite successful, decently successful on those particular dating markets. Because usually the European, this is the information, please take it over and so if you're European or Western European, is that usually the average European man is seen less masculine by the local females. Not my opinions, what I've read is what I've seen. Less masculine and also more frugal. And Venezuelan men have something that, first, they are very, they have kind of a good game, they know how to dance, and women love to dance and stuff like that. And also, Venezuelan men, regardless if he's broke, is not frugal with women. Actually, he likes to take her out, pay her drinks, the dinner, stuff like that. So, on the past few years, I've seen very many successful Venezuelan men regarding dating on Europe, and I've seen, actually, unlike the United States, I've seen a very important cohort of Venezuelan men dating beautiful European women. On the other hand, unlike the United States, where actually the Venezuelan females have occasionally, and it's very common, to see them dating successful American men. Not talking rich millionaire people, I'm talking, people with jobs and kind of good looking, something like that. Well, in Europe, doesn't happen as often. What happens is the women that want to date over there, they don't like the European men because Venezuelan women don't like frugal men, and also they like, the spark, the masculinity, stuff like that. Please, don't shoot the messenger. It's just the information that I'm getting. Well, what is happening right now is, at the end of the day, Venezuelans actually, of course, certain cohorts of the Venezuelan men are actually successful dating women on Western Europe. I mean, not even Eastern Europe, Western Europe. However, this is not the movement of the passport bros or anything like that. These men go to Europe for another reasons, and they, became kind of successful on those particular dating markets. Of course, they have to face the same issues as the domestic men regarding, hypergamy and woke culture and stuff like that. Now, what happens here in Venezuela? I've discussed a bunch of times how income inequality and dating go together, and that kind of screws up the local dating market here in Venezuela. Discuss the Gini coefficient, economics key, remember. The Gini coefficient is the way, it's a macroeconomic indicator that tries to paint a picture regarding the inequality in a country. It goes from 0 to 1. A country with 0 is zero inequality. A country with 1 is 100% inequality. Usually, most countries are between 0.2 and 0.4. So 0.2 is a nation, for instance, Western nations, Western European nations, are on that range, 0.25, something like that. And more unequal nations are on this close to 0.4, like the United States, is 0.3 something. And countries, for instance, like Russia, is very unequal, 0.4 something. Well, Venezuela has an income, a Gini coefficient of 0.6. It's a very, very, very unequal nation. So women have this thing called hypergamy. They only date more successful, economic successful men. And here in Venezuela, we have, of course, a bunch of impoverished men that make around $200, $300 per month. And we have a handful of men that are, well, I'm not going to say how they got rich. Oh, there are a handful, but they are there, millionaires, some cases billionaires, and they are basically hitting most of the market, the typical Pareto principle. A few of the rich men are dating most of the beautiful women. And that answers a question that I got asked a while. What is hard to find beautiful women in Caracas? Because they are occupied dating the rich, successful men. Of course, there are structures to get around that, but that's for another video. The main takeaway is that actually, right now, Venezuela is getting harder for the average man. We had hogflation here. I have to do another video about hogflation in Venezuela. But the thing, we are having hogflation. The hogflation is the inflation in order to access the dating market. That's it. The price of the dating market is getting higher. That's it. Well, what happens is that thanks to the inequality, hogflation, let's say the mid-range tier men don't have as much opportunities as they used to be, because believe me, the Venezuelan market was a glorious thing 10, 15 years ago, but right now it's not the same. We got spoiled on those years. Trust me. Now, something I recommend, because the Venezuelan man is actually very valuable. It's maybe not a rich man, but the Venezuelan man is actually kind of good looking. One of the most good looking men in Latin America. So I won't say, because it's not on that bracket. But I mean, if you are, you do you. I mean, I don't judge anybody. But, and actually he's very fun, has game, knows how to dance. Usually it doesn't matter if he has a little bit of money or much money. They like to share with their women. So they're a little bit sims. That's a funny thing. The Venezuelan man is like a sim with game, something bizarre. So what happens is, but it's very entertaining man. So, and also the Venezuelan man, unlike maybe he's not rich and successful, usually very well educated, has a STEM degree or a small business, maybe a not successful small business, but it has a business, so it's an entrepreneur. So it has a lot of intangibles, maybe it's not as rich. So the recommendation that I gave to a bunch of Venezuelan men is actually dating abroad. Dating, for instance, I'm seeing great results in Western Europe. Imagine in Eastern Europe, where they have the best dating markets in Europe, or maybe dating in Southeast Asia, or maybe dating in other places in Latin America, like Brazil. Also, I've seen some success cases in Brazil. Both Venezuelan females with Brazilian men and Brazilian women with Venezuelan men. I've seen, and same thing in Colombia, by the way. But in Colombia, it's not the market that I recommend for Venezuelan men. Anyway, so I recommend it, but there is a catch-22. In order to become a quote-unquote passport bro, you need some capital. You don't have to be rich, but you need a certain income. And that income has to be most likely be remote or passive income of that nature. So the issue, the catch-22, is the Venezuelan man that doesn't have the best ROI. Now, the good thing about it, there is always value on the Venezuelan dating market. Even today, in this hard market for the average Venezuelan, there is a lot of value. So if a man here in Venezuela becomes slightly successful, slightly, I mean, doesn't have to be a millionaire, a 7 and 8 figure entrepreneur, or anything like that. The Venezuelan man that slightly, when I'm saying successful, let's say something around $10,000 per month. That will be successful in Venezuela. Not everyone pull that off, by the way. And what happens is that when you reach that certain threshold, the local market is gonna grab you like these zombie movies, anything like that. They are not gonna let you go. The Venezuelan market is just still, with the hogflation and the income inequality, is still a rich market. It's not as great for I'm seeing, let's say, with Colombia, compared to Colombia, or Saudi or Philippines or Ukraine before the invasion, something like that. Well, but still a valuable market. And this is a catch-22. It's something that I want to see play out, keeps playing out now with more structure on the next years. Venezuelan men, right now, they're successful dating Western European females, but seeing right now on Eastern European nations, like we can talk about the Baltics, Poland, of course, a couple of cases over there. Belarus, I've seen actually successful, I've seen this story, or a successful Venezuelan passport bro didn't do it for being a passport bro, but a man from Margarita that learned how to speak Russian, and right now he's married in Belarus with a beautiful Belarusian wife. And I've seen a handful of cases like that, so it's something I want to see in the future. It's a trend in the right direction. I've recommended successful Venezuelan men, peers, mine. They recommend, you should take a shot on Eastern Europe. The thing is that they will have better ROI on Eastern Europe, of course, depending on the profile of the men, the Venezuelan men. And I told him, I'm sure that if you can do the geo arbitrage and go to Eastern Europe, you're going to have a great ROI. The thing is that still, this kind of men probably doesn't have the best options on the local market, but yet the market is so rich that they still decent options that they prefer take, the pay cut of dating, let's say, a Venezuelan 6 instead of a Russian 7. So for that upgrade, that small upgrade, they prefer, stay here right home instead of going to the cold Russia, staying to the warm Venezuela, the fun Margarita Island, or living in Caracas, hanging out in Caracas, or here in my hometown, Lecheria. But the one thing is, it's a catch-22, it's something that I want to discuss. And if you're a Venezuelan man, especially if you live abroad, please leave your comments below.
Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, VenezuelaInsider.com. Thanks again, and have a nice day.